At Target, a cashier slipped me a receipt that said, "He's following you." I stared at the handwritten message on the back of my receipt, my hands starting to shake. The cashier, a teenage girl with purple hair, avoided eye contact, but nodded toward the electronics section. I looked over and saw him immediately, a man in a gray hoodie pretending to browse phone cases, but his eyes were locked on me. When our eyes met, he quickly turned away and started walking toward the exit. My stomach dropped as I realized I'd seen this same guy 3 other places today. The cashier leaned closer and whispered, "He's been here for 2 hours just watching people. When you walked in, he got out his phone and started following you through every aisle. I watched him take pictures of you by the shampoo section." My blood went cold. I'd been to Starbucks this morning, the gas station, and the grocery store before Target. At each place, I'd noticed someone in a gray hoodie but thought it was just coincidence. Now I realized he'd been tracking my every move for hours. I asked the cashier what she'd seen, and she explained he'd been lurking near the customer service desk when I entered. He'd followed me to household goods, then to cosmetics, always staying about 20 feet behind. When I'd bent down to look at something on a bottom shelf, she'd seen him take multiple photos. The scariest part was when she mentioned he'd asked another employee what time the store closed and whether they had security cameras in the parking lot. He was planning something for when I left the building. The cashier said her manager was already aware and they'd called mall security. I pretended to browse magazines while watching him in the security mirrors. He was pacing near the exit, checking his phone constantly, clearly waiting for me to leave. His hood was pulled up despite the warm weather, and he kept adjusting something in his jacket pocket. Mall security arrived within minutes. 2 officers approached him casually, and I watched his whole demeanor change. He started backing toward the exit, but they blocked his path and began asking questions. That's when I saw him drop a small camera from his pocket. The officers detained him while I gave my statement. It turned out he'd been following multiple women around the shopping center, taking photos and videos without consent. His phone contained hundreds of pictures of unsuspecting women, including a whole folder of me from the past 3 days. Detective Martinez arrived and explained this was part of a larger stalking operation. The man had been building profiles of women's shopping routines, work schedules, and daily habits. He'd been selling this information to other predators who used it to plan break-ins and assaults. The evidence on his phone showed he'd been tracking me for almost a week. He knew where I worked, which gym I attended, what time I usually got coffee, and even which parking spots I preferred. He'd been preparing to escalate from photography to direct contact. The cashier, whose name was Riley, had probably saved my life by speaking up. She said she'd noticed suspicious behavior from men in the store before, but never felt confident enough to intervene. This time, something about his intensity made her trust her instincts. The stalker was arrested on multiple charges, including harassment, invasion of privacy, and conspiracy. Police found evidence linking him to similar cases involving other women who'd been followed and photographed without their knowledge. Some had been burglarized after he'd documented their schedules. 6 months later, I testified at his trial, where we learned he was part of a network of men who shared information about potential victims. They'd been using social media, shopping patterns, and surveillance to target women for various crimes. My case helped prosecutors connect him to 12 other incidents. Riley got recognition from Target Corporate for her vigilance and quick thinking. The store implemented new training for employees on how to identify and report suspicious behavior. They also improved their security camera coverage and established protocols for helping customers who might be in danger. Now I always trust my gut when something feels off, and I'm more aware of my surroundings in public places. That receipt reminder taught me that sometimes the most important warnings come from strangers who notice what we might miss when we're focused on our daily routines.